King Charles allows Prince Andrew to keep key role despite Christmas ban. So apparently there's a very specific hierarchy of royal disgrace, and it goes something like this. Too scandalous for Christmas dinner with the family, but perfectly acceptable for organizing shooting parties on the estate. Welcome back to the Royal Notebook, where we unpack the bewildering logic of royal family dynamics that would make a therapist reach for their notepad and start a whole new case file. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of royal double standards, where Prince Andrew can be banned from the family Christmas gathering but still gets to play host at shooting parties like nothing ever happened. It's the kind of contradictory treatment that makes you wonder if there's a royal handbook somewhere titled, How to Ostracize Your Brother While Still Letting Him Use the Good China. Let's start with the headline that's raising eyebrows across the realm. King Charles is reportedly allowing Prince Andrew to keep his key role at shooting parties on royal estates, despite the various scandals that have turned Andrew into the family member everyone wishes would just quietly retire to a cottage somewhere and take up watercolors. We're talking about the same Andrew who's been connected to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, the same Andrew who did that catastrophic Newsnight interview, the same Andrew who's become so toxic that apparently even Christmas is off the table. But shooting parties? Those are fine. Because apparently when you're deciding which family events your disgraced brother can attend, the determining factor is whether there will be cameras and public scrutiny. Christmas at Sandringham with all the traditional church service photo opportunities? Absolutely not. Private shooting parties on vast estates away from prying eyes? Welcome aboard, here's your gun. The logic here is simultaneously fascinating and completely bonkers. King Charles, who is reportedly keen to avoid being seen with Andrew publicly, still has time for his brother behind closed doors. It's like having a friend who won't be seen with you at the restaurant but is happy to hang out in their basement. The message is clear. I still like you personally, I just can't afford to be associated with you professionally, which in royal terms means publicly. Andrew, who is now 65 and probably thought his later years would involve more dignity and fewer scandals, has maintained the same shooting privileges he's had since his younger years. This includes hosting his family day at Windsor, which typically happens shortly after the pheasant shooting season starts in November. So while he's being uninvited from Christmas and Easter, he's still your go-to guy when it's time to organize a day of shooting birds in the countryside. The social significance of these shooting parties can't be understated. These aren't just casual weekend activities, they're vital for maintaining social connections among the aristocracy and upper classes. These events take place across vast estates and involve the kind of networking that happens when wealthy people spend hours together with expensive shotguns and even more expensive countryside fashion. It's basically LinkedIn for people who own actual land rather than just property. Andrew Loney, who has written a biography of Prince Andrew, provided some context that cuts right to the heart of this contradiction. He told the Royalist, King Charles does not want to antagonize his younger brother entirely, but he needs to recognize that the public wants some answers about the Yorks' connections with Jeffrey Epstein and how they have exploited their royal status for personal financial gain. That statement is doing a lot of heavy lifting because it's essentially pointing out that Charles is trying to balance family loyalty with public accountability, and right now that balance looks less like walking a tightrope and more like doing gymnastics while juggling flaming torches. The public wants answers, but Charles is more concerned with not completely alienating his brother, even if that brother has become a walking PR disaster. The Christmas ban is particularly significant because it represents a major escalation in Andrew's royal exile. Christmas at Sandringham is one of the most important royal family traditions, complete with the famous walk to church on Christmas Day where the family is photographed by crowds of well-wishers and media. For Andrew and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson to be uninvited from this gathering sends a clear message. You're too controversial for the public-facing parts of royal life. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Reports suggest that Andrew and Sarah will also no longer be seen with the royals at Easter Sunday services, another traditional public appearance that the couple has maintained despite not being working royals. So we're not just talking about one holiday, we're talking about a systematic removal from all the events where the royal family appears together in public view. The pattern is unmistakable. Any event with cameras, public attendance, or media coverage is now off-limits for Andrew. But private events on royal estates where the guest list is carefully controlled and no photographers are present? Those are apparently still fine. It's like being grounded but still being allowed to use the family car as long as you promise not to drive it anywhere anyone might see you. Sarah Ferguson's inclusion in these bans is also notable because it suggests that the issue isn't just about Andrew's scandals, it's about the couple as a unit. Despite being divorced for years, Sarah and Andrew have maintained a close relationship and have both found themselves caught up in revelations surrounding Epstein. The fact that she's being uninvited alongside him suggests that the palace views them as a package deal when it comes to potential controversy. The timing of these revelations is significant because they come after weeks of fresh news about Epstein connections and questions about how the Yorks have leveraged their royal status for financial gain. Every time there's a new development in the Epstein story, Andrew's position becomes more untenable, and the royal family's strategy of keeping him at arm's length becomes more obvious. What makes this whole situation so absurd is the idea that hosting shooting parties is somehow less problematic than attending Christmas dinner. The shooting parties involve many of the same social connections, the same networking opportunities, and the same use of royal estates and privileges. The only real difference is that they happen away from cameras and public scrutiny. It's the royal equivalent of being told you can't come to the office party but you can still use the company golf membership. The privileges remain, the perks continue, but the public-facing responsibilities and appearances are gone. For someone who's supposedly being held accountable for damaging the monarchy's reputation, it's a remarkably comfortable form of exile. The fact that Andrew gets to maintain these shooting privileges, as he has had since his younger years, also suggests that Charles is drawing a distinction between punishment and humiliation. He's willing to exclude Andrew from public events to protect the monarchy's image, but he's not willing to strip away private privileges that Andrew has enjoyed for decades. It's accountability with a very generous interpretation of consequences.